All right, let's do it. Let's do it.
So today we're going to talk about the dispatcher.
Yes.
We're going to talk about the guy who talked to Campos. He's the second guy, right? In this whole thing, he's literally the closest person other than Campos to the shooter.
Right.
I mean, Campos is in there. He gets hit by a pellet gun in front of 129, and then he goes, takes a dive into a couple different rooms, whatever, outside in a little alcove. And what's he do? He calls dispatch. Like this.
With a phone.
Hey, they're shooting! They're shooting at me.
He's got a radio.
Hey,
so
dispatch.
he pulls his phone out and he calls him.
The nanny's shooting me with a pellet gun.
Yeah. And so this dispatcher is really the second person, the next person in line when it comes to air. So what? Start off with what that guy say. How'd that whole thing break down?
Yeah, so the dispatcher was not interviewed until the 10th of October.
Yeah, which is that in itself is nuts.
Yeah.
10 days after this.
He's actually, in my book, he's number 2, right? I mean, I literally have him, like if anybody out there wants to download the time event chart and the unknown numbers of names that we have, just go to the webpage and download them. And he's number 0 because Campos is number 1. All right?
Right.
We know Campos. I don't have Shuck on there at all because Shuck has yet to be mentioned. So he's not on there at all. But number 0 is the dispatcher, the guy who he called and said, "Hey, somebody's shooting me."
And why is he number 0 instead of number 2?
Because So I had a as I was going through sworn statements,
right,
I had a number 1 already listed. Okay. And then I went back and I go, you know what? I don't have him.
Oh, okay.
So instead of making him like number 33 or 35,
right. Okay.
I said, let's make him number 0 because he is at the top of the list.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, now that explains it.
He's number 0.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, well, it explains it because I just thought you were stupid. So, I mean, let's, are we going to start going -1, -2, or what? So, okay.
Hey, in this investigation, we quite possibly could.
We could, yeah. Okay, so let's, so Campos is in.
No, okay, so this guy gets interviewed 10 days later.
10 days after, right.
He gets interviewed 10 days later on the 10th of October at 3:49 in the afternoon in the Mandalay Bay. And he's interviewed by a detective, which is named B. Hodson. So then he's interviewed also in the same room with an FBI agent, G. McCamey.
2 separate times?
No. They're all in the same room.
Okay, so an FBI agent's in there.
Yep. So a detective from the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department, an FBI agent, and somebody else who they blacked out.
Okay. And it's not on the 32nd floor like they did Campos, right?
It doesn't say the room number.
It doesn't say where they did it at?
No, it just says the Mandalay Bay.
Jeez. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
But it says that it was the detective, the special agent, and somebody else who they blacked out from the Mandalay Bay. So I'm assuming that was not the
union guy.
The union rep. Yeah.
So maybe you're thinking that was the interviewee?
Mm-mm. No, I don't know who it is. It's a fourth person. There's 4 people in that room.
So here again, we have an unidentified person inside this room
With no initials. I mean, there's no, it's all blacked out. Yes.
And we didn't have any initials with the Campos up on the 32nd floor interview when the union president.
No.
We still don't know his name.
Union rep.
We still don't know his name.
No.
So this is the second interview with the top 1 and 2 guy.
Right.
And we have somebody that's we don't know, someone else in there.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
You said that really eloquently. So I'm impressed.
I'm trying to clear it up. You're a little foggy with that. You need some work on your investigative skills.
Oh, my dog's barking in the background. I'm about ready to shoot her. Shut up!
Buddy lips.
All right.
Little Andrew Dice Clay there. Sorry about that. Go ahead.
So everybody on this.
Anyway, let's go.
All of these guys have initials. And so the individual being interviewed, obviously we don't know his name. He's unknown number 0. His initials on his sworn statement actually say Juliet Victor.
Okay.
Okay. So his first name starts with a J and his last name starts with a V.
All right.
We know that. Inside this statement, they forget to black out Jesus Campos' name. So we know, based on them not blacking his name out, that he is literally the individual that this dispatcher is talking about or talking to.
Okay.
Okay?
Great.
Yeah. All right. So we're going to just go through this real quick. So basically this guy gets interviewed by the detective, and I'm just going to call him the dispatcher.
Okay.
The dispatcher said, okay. Actually, you know what? Let's call him by his initials, JV. All right? So JV, yeah. So JV, the detective says, so tell me in your own words what happened. And JV says, so it was about time for the graveyard shift to relieve us. All right? So maybe
yeah. Now this.
Yeah, I mean, come on.
This is where I said it. The dude was getting off shift. That's why he took the long way around, It just poked around just to buy some time. Say it.
Keep on going.
Say it. Say it.
Okay, you were right.
Mark that one down because you don't hear that very often.
Yeah, that ain't gonna happen often. Yeah, so that's good. That's a good one.
I knew it.
You called that one. All right.
I did, man. I did.
So he said about 10 o'clock, 10 after 10 is when he kind of got this phone call. And he got the phone call, he answered it, and it happened to be Jesus Campos on the other line. All right? Now, later on, this guy actually confirms it was a cell phone, and he could understand. He worked there so long, he knew Jesus Campos's caller ID number. And so he just picked it up knowing it was a cell phone going, hey, what's going on? Right?
All right.
Yeah. So we know it's a cell phone from this guy.
And if we had cell records or the dispatch report, we would know the time that call came in.
Absolutely. So, and as far as I know, the investigation only looked at Paddock's cell phone and no one else's cell phone, as far as I know. So if somebody out there knows any different, please let me know.
Wow. Okay.
I mean, you would think that Jesus's number.
Yeah. Timeline. Right.
Or dispatch anyway. So anyway, we got it. So it's a cell phone. And then he goes, hey, he informed me that he was shot. So JV, the dispatcher, says, he informed me that he was shot. And I said, by what? And Jesus Campos says, probably a pellet gun. The hole was really small. So JV, the dispatcher, proceeded to ask him if he was bleeding. And Jesus says, yes, a little bit. So the dispatcher, JV, asked him if he could walk or get downstairs or give us his location. All right. JV says, Jesus told me he's on the 32nd floor of the 100 wing. He told me he was outside of rooms 32, 32nd floor, room 120 and 118. All right.
Okay.
I asked him how he got shot by a pellet gun, and does he know where it came from? And Jesus tells him 135. So the dispatcher, JV, immediately, in his sworn statement, he didn't say immediately, but he said, Jesus told me 135. So I turned around and said to the other dispatchers, Jesus Campos has been shot. He's on the 32nd floor, 100 wing. He got shot from room 135, probably by a pellet gun.
Okay.
He says, and then I'm on the phone with Jesus at that moment in time. No, he didn't say moment in time, sorry.
Yeah.
I was waiting for that one to come out.
Uh-huh.
But as he said that, he said he turns around and he says, Jesus has been shot. Floor 32, wing 100. He got shot by a pellet gun. And the next sentence is, as I'm on the phone with Jesus Campos, I hear gunshots going off on his end of the line. Which is actually pretty good. The timeline, if everybody looks at the timeline spreadsheet that I have, it's literally the same as what Campos said. It's kind of the same order at this moment in time. All right?
Right.
I'm just going to use moment in time.
Yeah, I love that.
So JV, the dispatcher, says, so I informed the other dispatchers. So first he informed everybody, hey, Jesus has been shot by a pellet gun from 135 on floor 32. He goes, then I heard the gunfire. He says, then I informed all the other dispatchers, I can hear gunfire going off, and that's way too loud to be a pellet gun. We have an active shooter on floor 32 in room 135. End of quote.
He's on the phone with Jesus. He didn't confirm anything with Jesus.
No, he said it.
Right. Jesus didn't say anything like, yeah, no, maybe, whatever,
No.
He didn't say anything about active shooter.
No, hell, after he went down and ran down to the middle of the hallway, remember his video?
Right.
He didn't say anything about gunshots. He said a pellet gun.
A pellet gun, yeah.
So the dispatcher, JV, actually, had this incident not actually had a gunshot of anybody getting killed, he didn't confirm anything. He's the one who initiated this.
Right.
Okay. So it's kind of an interesting statement for him to make.
It is.
Without
it really is.
The statement.
Without confirming the officer on the scene.
Yeah. So then JV, the dispatcher, tells Jesus Campos to stand by, wait till armed units arrive. At that point, that's quote, at that point, he says at that point, and it's blacked out, it's somebody in the dispatch room behind him.
Okay.
Was on the main tack putting out calls that night. He sent the manager, the bike units, and the armed officers up to the floor. And then during that point, Jesus Campos hung up the phone. So all these things happen like right then in that one second.
Right.
So at that point, this other person in the dispatch room calls for the manager to go up, bike units to go up, and armed officers to go up. And at that same time, Jesus hangs up the phone. Okay?
Right.
All right. Now, again, the sworn statement, just so everybody knows, I'm not going to cover the secondhand knowledge, basically the stuff that this dispatcher, JV, conveys in his sworn statement that he heard from somebody else.
Because it's been 10 days.
Because it's been 10 days. So
right.
I'm basically, I'm going to highlight it and not cover it. All right.
Right.
We're just going to cover what he did at that time.
Right.
So, so the detective asks JV, the dispatcher, were you aware of Jesus Campos calling prior to being shot? I'm assuming that means the lock, right? Or could have been the numerous other calls.
Yeah, yeah.
So JV, the dispatcher, says negative. So maybe the word negative is a common term among dispatchers and security in the Mandalay Bay. I mean, maybe, he's saying it, so it's just something to keep track of. Says, okay. So JV, the dispatcher, says he must have spoken to another dispatcher about that. And then the dispatcher says, the detective says, do you know who he may have talked to? And JV, the dispatcher, says, well, let's see. This person who's blacked out, he is not allowed to answer the phone. So I have him listed because I want to know who is actually not allowed in that room to answer the phone. All right.
Right, right.
And then he said, this guy, blacked out, who was sitting behind me, or this other guy who was sitting behind me. So there was two guys evidently sitting behind him. So the detective says, so when you're on the phone and you hear the shots in the background, were you aware of any calls being made to police at that point, or to medical, or anything at that time? JV, the dispatcher, says, at that time, we were supposed to, before I heard the gunshots going off, we were going to send a report writer, which I'm assuming it's a guy who does triage of medical events. I don't know, but they call him a report officer.
Okay.
They're going to send a report writer. Going to send a report writer up to check on his condition, see if he needed medical or paramedic attention. And like I said, then the gunshots went off, and I informed the other dispatchers. I believe unknown, blanked out, or it might have been unknown, blanked out. One of the two behind me, so both of those guys were behind him. Both of those people, female or male, were behind him.
Right, right.
He goes, I believe that one of these guys behind me got on the phone with Metro, told them, hey, we have an active shooter on floor 32, room 135. So they maintained the line with Metro, whereas I was trying to keep Jesus on the phone to keep us updated. All right.
Yeah. So, bottom line, we're probably a half hour. We're probably by 10:30 right now. The shooting's supposed to have happened at 10, and they still know nothing about the shooting, even the dispatch in Mandalay Bay.
No.
And a whole mayhem is going on outside. That's why people said that there was people standing in Mandalay Bay inside as if nothing's happening.
Something's going on. I'm not sure why people aren't running, but there's a security guard. What is he doing? For there being gunfire, sure doesn't seem like people are running. Oh, shit. seriously, I don't know what's going on. Where are the cops at? I'm right here by the porch at Mandalay Bay, and everything just seems to be normal here.
What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, and everything seems normal when it's not. A million cameras around the Vegas.
Yeah, we're just all sitting. We're just.
I got details on it. I'm at the airport. I just talked to the Metro Police over here at the airport. They said do not go to Mandalay Bay. There's multiple shots fired and they need lots of medical there. Do not go to Mandalay Bay. Stay away from there.
All right, I'm leaving. This is ridiculous. I don't know why people aren't leaving. This is insane. Everybody's just standing around. It doesn't seem like anybody's moving. It seems like it's coming.
What happened, Mandalay Bay driver? What happened? Full shots fired. They don't even know the details yet. I just talked to Metro over here at the airport. They're
There's
still
just
getting the
people
details,
standing
but
around.
there's multiple
You
injuries.
guys, there's
and,
a shots fired.
That's all they're telling me. They're not telling me anything other than that. They just said stay away from there. They're shutting the whole place down.
Hey, you guys stay in here. Stay here.
I need security. Where's security? Where's security?
You guys stay here. Stay.
Where the fuck is security? Security! Fuck, we need security, bro. Go back and get security.
Here, I'll go find him. Hey, you guys stay inside. Don't go outside. Where's security? Hey, stay inside. Okay. You don't want to go out right now. They're uncovered. Stay in here. Is anybody picking up at all?
Where is security?
Yeah, nobody's answering.
I need to get on that phone that guy shooting from. Stay inside. Hey, there's a guy with a weapon. You don't want to go outside. You gotta stay inside. You don't want to get to the bathroom. All right, come downstairs. Come on, let's go.
You guys stay in here.
I am in the casino, babe.
Hey, here's security. Security.
I need to get into that room. That's the gas thing to do.
Oh, I know.
Yes. No, the 32. 32? Yeah, 32, 32. 32? Is it confirmed? Yeah, the 32 must be right. Are you sure? Yes. Okay. Do we have access to get into that room? My matches are all up there.
As if nothing is happening.
Right.
Because they didn't know anything was happening.
Mm-mm.
They even had an officer on the 32nd floor. This is some weird stuff, man.
It is.
This is some really weird stuff because high-powered rifles, Jesus would have been able to hear that in that room. And you remember, now this is just me talking, but you remember in a lot of those videos, you have gunfire coming from every different direction.
Mm-hmm.
They don't even know where it's coming from. But they do see an open window, and they think they see flashes up there. So they assume that's the patsy. That's what I'm calling him because I don't know for sure if he actually even did it. We're a half hour into a big massacre. You got a police officer or a security guard on the 32nd floor, 10 feet from the room for a half hour and still doesn't know that it's the biggest massacre in the world.
Right.
Or in the United States.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Absolutely.
I mean, so it's ludicrous, really. Just that. And you know it's not that soundproof of rooms. I mean,
no, there were a lot of people in that floor. A lot of
there
people.
was the aunt, there was 2 kids, and there was other people on that floor that no one talks about.
Yep. So there's a video of them clearing the floor after the fact, right? Before they breached, they cleared the floor. Right.
And what time did they breach? Do we know?
Yeah, I have it on my timeline, but
Okay.
But they did find a lot of people that were actually sleeping in their rooms on that floor.
It's crazy.
Right.
See, this is getting interesting, man.
Yeah.
I mean, there's something wrong with this picture.
And I don't know if anybody ever saw a flash coming out of his broken windows. They saw flashes coming out of the 10th floor, but out of a 10th floor window.
Oh, okay.
But what happened is based on what we're seeing right here, you got Jesus who's saying 32nd floor 135. You got the dispatcher saying active shoot. He's the first one to say active shooter.
Right.
In this whole investigation, this guy is the first one to say we've got an active shooter in room 135.
And not even confirming it with Jesus, which is on the floor.
Right. And
10 feet from the door, probably.
Absolutely. And then combine that with the windows being busted.
Right.
You don't even need a flash coming out of the room. Right. He's already guilty.
He's guilty.